Continuing from the previous chapter, the immense energy of the black and white yin-yang heart surged wildly from within Xiao, and little E seized the opportunity to absorb it fervently. However, after absorbing the energy, little E began to feel drowsy. Master Ancestor, what's happening to little E? Xiao asked the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King looked at little E, seemingly deep in thought. Xiao furrowed his brows as well. Little E was not only a major asset in battles, but also a close companion who was always by his side. The surplus energy had been devoured by little E, leading to this unexpected situation. If anything were to happen to little E, Xiao would. Could this be the legendary advancement? The Golden Dragon King muttered to himself after observing little E for a while. Advancement? Xiao asked, puzzled. I mentioned before, the fire spirit is a rare natural phenomenon, containing immense energy from the moment of its birth. Moreover, fire spirits are divided into 5 stages: the newborn stage, juvenile stage, growth stage, maturity stage, and peak stage. It's said that each advancement of a fire spirit requires a massive amount of energy as a backup, and with each advancement, their strength undergoes a qualitative transformation. The final 2-stage advancements are even rumored to trigger heavenly tribulations. Seems the rumors are true. However, a fire spirit's advancement is somewhat unique. After consuming such immense power, it requires a gradual absorption and a slow metamorphosis, the Golden Dragon King commented, observing the growing energy within little E. Xiao was surprised. From what he knew, even for magical beasts, their advancement typically involved overcoming tribulations to break through their current state and reach a higher realm. He had never heard of a situation like little Yi's before. A sleep-induced transformation? Although surprised, Xiao didn't question further. He stepped forward to pick up little E. Even an ordinary fire spirit in its newborn stage can speak and possesses intelligence comparable to humans. Yet this fire spirit seems peculiar, the Golden Dragon King noted. It appears its intelligence has been erased? The Golden Dragon King then formed a seal with his hands, and a ball of memory light emerged before Xiao. As Xiao gazed into the light, he seemed to return to the moment when he subdued little E in the demonic flame realm. Pure Lotus Demon Saint, my growth is my own concern, not yours. The demonic lotus's light flared slightly, and the furious roar of the pure lotus demonic flame echoed. I just don't want you to ultimately fall into self-destruction. I was the one who made you this way, so let me end it all, the ethereal figure said, gazing at the demonic lotus. With a change of hand seals, 2 massive arrays that covered the sky suddenly descended from above and below. A vast fire curtain shot out from the center of the arrays, forming a blazing square prison at lightning speed, trapping the demonic lotus inside. I gave you intelligence and memories, and now I will take them back. From now on, you will regain the purity you had when I first discovered you. When my time was nearly up back then, I had considered erasing your memories, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. So, I sealed you, hoping you could dispel the violence and murderous intent in your heart. But now, it seems that the thousands of years of sealing have only deepened your hatred. In that case, the pure Lotus Demon Saint sighed lightly, watching the fiercely struggling pure Lotus demonic flame. His hand seals changed again, and the massive array, spanning tens of thousands of meters, began collapsing from the outer edge inward. As the array's perimeter crumbled, the fire pillars containing the pure Lotus demonic flame grew increasingly solid. Boom! 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 Heaven refining ancient array, separate. With a gentle wave of the pure Lotus Demon Saint's ethereal hand, countless fiery lines shot out from the fire curtain, forming a fiery net that embedded deep into the demonic lotus. Slowly, the net began to pull up, extracting strands of blood-red mist from the core of the demonic lotus's body. Bang! 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 At that moment, the memory orb shattered. The Golden Dragon King seemed to understand a few things. A fire spirit, as a wondrous creation of heaven and earth, mirrors the purity or darkness of its master. Since the original spirit of this fire spirit had its violent nature stripped away, let's start afresh and nurture it properly, the Golden Dragon King said softly. This time, we must not let such a rare natural phenomenon stray off the right path. Hearing this, Xiao Yin understood. While the fire spirit's power was indeed formidable, if it strayed down a dark path, the consequences would be unimaginable. He nodded in agreement and then approached Little E. Master Ancestor, what should we do now? Xiao Yin asked, noticing the ever-thickening energy within Little E. Originally, the storage ring in your body could contain the fire spirit, but now that it seeks to advance, you'll need to find a quiet place that also possesses the power of flames, the Golden Dragon King advised. This advancement will awaken intelligence in the fire spirit comparable to that of a human. However, the process will be slow, taking anywhere from a few months to several years, the Golden Dragon King added, observing the fire spirit's drowsy state. The quietest place. Xiao Yin was perplexed. Having just arrived on the Do-D continent, he knew no one and was unfamiliar with the area. Where could he find a quiet place for Little E to slowly advance and transform? Even if he found one, Xiao Yin wouldn't feel at ease leaving Little E there. Since that's the case, your body, which contains a rich flame power, would be the best place, the Golden Dragon King suggested, seeing through Xiao Yan's concerns. However, your current storage ring won't be sufficient to contain the fire spirit in its current state. You'll need to create a separate space within your body for the fire spirit to sleep and transform. Calm your mind and close your eyes. Use your Do Qi and soul power to condense a space at the location of your storage ring. The Golden Dragon King's voice slowly resonated in Xiao Yan's mind. Boom! 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 3 muffled sounds rang out consecutively. With the combined efforts of Xiao Yan's milky white Do Qi and immense, intangible soul power, he finally succeeded in creating a space within his body to house the fire spirit. Now you can advance in peace. Xiao Yin cradled Little E in his arms, as if holding a beloved brother. Little E mustered all his strength to open his eyes and look at Xiao Yin. Upon hearing Xiao Yan's words, a childlike purity flickered in his gaze. Without further hesitation, he transformed into a ball of light and merged directly into Xiao Yan's body. Xiao Yin could feel Little E settling into the newly created space within his body, beginning the slow process of transformation. Now, all we can do is wait, the Golden Dragon King said, watching as Xiao Yin completed this series of actions. Xiao Yin sensed his body, relieved that his concern about not being able to use the power of the heavenly flames due to Little Yi's advancement did not come to pass. After all, Little E was a fire spirit formed from a fusion of heavenly flames, while the heavenly flames were a source Xiao Yin had absorbed. There was no conflict between the two. Boom! 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 After resolving the issue, a figure enveloped in blue flames not far from Xiao Yin shattered, revealing a blue lotus. On the lotus platform, Su Shuiying was standing gracefully. Xiao Yin felt an even more terrifying aura emanating from her than before. Have you finished absorbing? Su Shuiying's delicate lips parted slightly. She hadn't expected Xiao Yin to act so swiftly. Yes, Xiao Yin replied. Su Shuiying's slender brows furrowed slightly as she continued. Next up is the greatest treasure of this relic. The essence blood of a peak-level 7-star Do-D. As Su Shuiying's words fell, Xiao Yin narrowed his eyes, looking between Su Shuiying and the skeleton on the throne. Boom! 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 Su Shuiying's jade hand lifted slightly, and the blue flames surged towards the skeletal remains on the throne. Even as the terrifying power of the blue sacred flame burned fiercely, the skeleton remained unmoved. Mea illusion, shita. Su Shuiying shouted. A flicker of light appeared on the ring on her jade hand, and a delicate jade bottle materialized in her grasp. Inside the jade bottle, a drop of unknown liquid pulsated gently. With a soft command from Su Shuiying, the bottle shattered, and the liquid darted toward the skeletal remains on the throne. This woman is quite clever, but now things will get interesting. Just as the Golden Dragon King finished speaking, a playful voice suddenly echoed through the empty stone hall, startling both Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying. They quickly turned their gazes towards the sound, only to see a faint red glow floating above the shattered stone coffin and throne. It gradually formed into a phantom, smiling at Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying. The apparition appeared ethereal, clearly not a physical entity. The figure seemed middle-aged, remarkably youthful, with smooth skin and a refined, scholarly demeanor. "So, you've shown yourself?" Su Shuiying's willow brows knitted together as she recalled the faint sensation from her body earlier, speaking in a voice tinged with anger. "Hey, you certainly are fierce, young lady. Not only did you shatter my beloved's bones and stone coffin, but you also harbor grievances against me," the scholarly man remarked, glancing at the shattered coffin beneath the throne and smiling slightly. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying's expressions changed. "Is this the master of the tomb?" There's no need to be tense. I am indeed deceased. This is merely a lingering wisp of my soul, sealed within the skeleton. If you hadn't used energy resonance, I wouldn't have manifested, the scholarly man chuckled. "You shameless scoundrel. To think you are considered a senior, and yet resort to such despicable means." Su Shuiying gritted her teeth, her voice trembling with anger. Clearly, she harbored some hostility due to the recent incident with the yin-yang heart. The affairs between men and women are naturally aligned with the principles of yin and yang in heaven and earth. How can it be considered shameless? As long as both parties are willing and cultivate together in harmony, wouldn't that be even better? The scholarly man replied. "Utter nonsense," Su Shuiying retorted. "However, it seems that the yin and yang forces within your bodies are somewhat unbalanced. Such imbalance could squander the opportunity one have bestowed upon you," the scholarly man said with a slow smile. With his level of power, it was obvious that he had immediately noticed the anomaly within their bodies. "You there, young man," he continued, turning his gaze to Xiao Yin. "Judging by the strength of your flame power and soul force, you must be an alchemist of no small rank, correct? No wonder you could unravel my death trap. Originally, the yin-yang heart was meant to create a harmonious union, but you..." The scholarly man scrutinized Xiao Yin intently. Even under the gaze of such a mere remnant soul, Xiao Yin couldn't help but feel a shiver run down his spine. The reputation of a peak-level 7-star Do Di was truly well-deserved. Upon hearing the scholarly man address Xiao Yin in this way, Su Shuiying couldn't help but take another look at him. To be acknowledged as an alchemist of high rank by a peak-level 7-star Do Di must mean Xiao Yin was indeed quite formidable. "Well, no matter. Since you've inherited my legacy, it can be considered fate," the scholarly man continued. "This hall was merely a cover for the yin-yang heart. Now that the heart has been taken, it's no longer of any use. Come with me, both of you, to the true main chamber." With a wave of his hand, a passageway appeared in the space before them. A strange smile appeared on the scholarly man's face as his gaze swept over Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying. Xiao Yin wore a puzzled expression. "This guy, is there something wrong with his head? What do you intend to do?" Su Shuiying asked coldly, her eyes narrowing. Her clear voice carried a hint of icy severity. "You destroyed my beloved's bones, so naturally, I should destroy you as well. However, since you've obtained the yin-yang heart, there's a certain destiny at play. I can see some potential in you both, and I imagine you have a need for the essence blood, correct? So, I'll grant your wish. If you want the essence blood, follow me," the scholarly man said. Su Shuiying snorted coldly, unsurprised that the master of the relic had seen through the secret she carried. Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying exchanged a glance and then followed after him. As they passed through the newly opened passage, they found themselves standing at the entrance of a dark cave. Inside, a narrow, pitch-black path stretched out into an unknown distance. The scholarly man stood at the forefront, watching them closely. The cave was shrouded in darkness, with only one path visible ahead. "Let's go," the scholarly man said, taking the lead once more. Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying hesitated for a moment, but then followed suit. Since they had come this far, there was no turning back. Walking through the quiet, dark cave, a faint chill enveloped them. The only sound in the still passageway was the faint echo of their footsteps. The oppressive darkness made Su Shuiying involuntarily cross her arms over her chest. She glanced up at Xiao Yin walking steadily ahead. The blue lotus under her feet retracted into her storage ring. After a brief hesitation, she quickened her pace to stay closer to him. In such an unknown environment, the young man before her was the only source of safety she could rely on. After walking in this eerie silence for about 10 minutes, just as Su Shuiying felt she could no longer bear the maddening quiet, Xiao Yin suddenly halted. "We've arrived. This is where the essence blood is," the scholarly man said slowly, with the tone of someone returning home from a long journey. Boom! 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 The scholarly man's body surged with Do Qi, directing it towards the stone door. The door trembled for a moment before suddenly bursting open. As the stone door opened, a burst of floral fragrance filled the air. Xiao Yan's eyes lit up as if he were seeing the most delicious meal laid out before him. 10,000-year-old Lingji, fire benefit fruit. Several rare herbs appeared before Xiao Yan's eyes. For a high-level alchemist, nothing was more thrilling than discovering rare medicinal ingredients. Even a highly skilled alchemist couldn't perform miracles without the necessary herbs. Su Shuiying's beautiful eyes scanned the herbs on the ground, then lifted her delicate neck slightly, revealing a tantalizing glimpse of her collarbone as she exclaimed in surprise, "The essence blood of the Emperor. Finally, we found it!" Xiao Yin turned his head at her exclamation, looking inside the stone chamber. Hovering above a skeletal hand in midair were a few drops of blood-red liquid. He could sense an unprecedented pressure emanating from them. "This is as far as I can take you. I hope you two young ones have good luck," the scholarly man said. As he finished speaking, he shattered like glass, dissolving into tiny particles of light and disappearing into the air. As the scholarly man's figure faded from the realm, a sense of majesty and pressure emanated from the jade-white skeleton within the stone chamber. Could this really be it? Xiao Yin murmured to himself. The relic master had already played tricks with the so-called yin-yang heart and various deceptive formations. Xiao Yin remained wary, scanning his surroundings for any hidden dangers. The stone chamber was clearly visible. From the entrance, medicinal herbs were growing everywhere, and a narrow path led deeper into the chamber. At the far end of the stone chamber, on a slightly elevated platform, a jade-white skeleton slowly came into view. Atop the slightly raised platform was a throne, identical to the one outside. Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed tightly. Even though this was the long-deceased remains of an emperor, the power this seven-star Do Di had wielded in life must have been terrifying. If this emperor were somehow resurrected, it would spell a death sentence for both Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying. Thankfully, this was merely a skeleton that had been dead for many years. However, Xiao Yin dared not let his guard down. He remained vigilant, scanning his surroundings cautiously, while his eyes burned with intensity as he stared at the skeleton sitting cross-legged. With their combined senses, both Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying knew this was the deepest part of the relic, where the emperor had once resided. A seven-star Do Di was a formidable rank, even for them. It held an irresistible allure, but they were also aware that such temptation came with immense risk. A seven-star Do Di might be a solitary powerhouse in the Xianling continent, but still far from the true pinnacle of strength. Nevertheless, the value contained in the bones and even the essence blood of a seven-star Do Di was immeasurable. Moreover, between a Do Di and a Do Xian, there was an almost qualitative leap in power. The gap between the two was such that nothing could truly bridge it. So, these are the remains of a mighty seven-star Do Di. Xiao Yin murmured to himself. From the aura and the feel of its soul power, he could sense that the strength and resilience contained within these bones were several times greater than anything he had encountered before. That's it. Su Shuiying's beautiful eyes sparkled with a hint of fervor as she gazed at the few drops of blood-red liquid on the skeleton. the essence blood of an emperor. That was her goal on this expedition. She had to obtain it at all costs, or else. Xiao took a deep breath and began walking into the stone chamber, carefully surveying the area. The expansive chamber was filled with a variety of herbs growing as soon as one entered from the stone door. Yet, curiously, there was no sign of any plants growing around the skeleton seated at the chamber's deepest part. Seeing the abundance of herbs around him and the bare space near the skeleton, a bad feeling suddenly rose in Xiao Yan's heart. Then, as if sensing something beneath his feet, he quickly grabbed Su Shuang beside him and pulled her back toward the entrance, saying in a low voice, "Retreat quickly." Huh. Su Shuang was puzzled by Xiao Yan's abrupt action. However, she chose to trust him, believing that it was better to be safe than sorry. Despite her confusion, she immediately followed his lead and swiftly retreated. As Xiao Yan hastily backed away, Su Shuang noticed something amiss. She gathered her blue dou qi around her and picked up a pebble, tossing it toward the space surrounding the skeleton. The pebble barely touched the area near the emperor's skeleton before it was suddenly halted, as if it had struck a solid wall. Then, Xiao Yan saw the dried-up emperor's skeleton begin to twitch slightly. The space around the skeleton collapsed inward, transforming into countless sharp, space-piercing spikes that viciously stabbed into the pebble. Boom! 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 The terrifying force instantly converged on the pebble, disintegrating it into dust. Su Shuang also noticed the anomaly with the skeleton, her eyes fixated on it. She saw that the few drops of blood-red liquid, which had originally hovered above the skeleton's hand, were now gently dripping onto the cross-legged skeleton. The essence blood. It's merging with the skeleton. Su Shuang gasped. As they watched the blood seep into the jade-white bones, a deep sense of unease began to spread within them. Xiao Yan's gaze was locked onto the drops of blood falling onto the skeleton. At that moment, the blood seemed to sink into the bones as if water was being absorbed by cotton. As the last of the blood was fully absorbed by the skeleton, Xiao Yan's pupils suddenly contracted. In that instant, he sensed a faint resurgence of life within what was supposed to be the long-dead remains. Damn, retreat now? Su Shuang was quick to react. The moment she sensed the flicker of life, she let out a hurried shout and stamped her foot on the ground, propelling her body backward like a bolt of lightning. Just as they began to retreat, the jade-white skeleton seated on the stone throne trembled slightly. Then, in the moment when the blood merged with the jade-white body, two faint red glows flickered within the dark, empty eye sockets of the skull. Creak! As the two of them exited the stone chamber, a faint sound of bone twisting echoed in the previously silent room. Upon hearing this sound, Xiao Yan and Su Shuang exchanged glances and then fixed their gazes on the jade-white skeleton. A dense mist of blood-red aura was now spreading through the depths of the chamber. A bloody scent wafted from the depths of the stone chamber, growing ever thicker. Creak, creak! The sound of bones scraping against the ground grew closer. Though not loud, it seemed to press directly onto their hearts, filling them with a suffocating sense of dread. Be careful, don't separate, Xiao Yan said in a low, serious tone, glancing at Su Shuang. This situation was completely out of their control. The resurrection of the emperor's skeleton was truly terrifying. Su Shuang nodded in agreement. She had come here after gathering enough intelligence, but she hadn't expected the master of the relic to revive. If they mishandled this situation, both of them might end up as part of this tomb. Inside the stone chamber, under their watchful eyes, the blood mist slowly fluctuated. Suddenly, a skeleton dyed crimson by the power of the essence blood stepped out of the mist, appearing before them. Defeat me, and you shall live. Fail, and you shall die. The blood-red skeleton stopped a few meters in front of them, slowly lifting its head. In its hollow eyes, the blood glow flickered, and an ancient, hoarse, indifferent voice echoed softly through the chamber. The figure that emerged from the depths of the stone chamber was composed entirely of jade-white bones. The skeletal body stood thin and upright in the chamber, and after absorbing the essence blood, the originally jade-white bones had turned even whiter. The skeleton was now shrouded in a thick mist of blood, which had transformed into a crimson hue, giving it a profoundly sinister appearance. Within the hollow eye sockets, two faint red glows flickered intermittently. Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying then saw that the blood, which had just merged with the skeleton, seemed to be coagulating again at the chest area of the Emperor's remains. A few drops of blood-red liquid were pulsating there, exuding an incredibly powerful force. It must be like a machine, driven by the blood as its core, enabling the skeleton to temporarily resurrect and guard the essence blood of the Emperor. However, if we can control this skeleton or seize the blood, the skeleton will collapse on its own, Su Shuiying observed, her beautiful eyes flashing as if she had discovered something. Good things never come easy, Xiao Yin cursed. From just sensing it, he knew this skeleton's current power was far beyond that of a 4-star Do-D. Defeating it would be even more difficult. As the skeleton's hoarse, ancient voice faded, the faces of both Xiao Yin and Su Shuiying outside the chamber changed slightly. It seemed that unless they defeated this Emperor's skeleton, leaving here smoothly, let alone obtaining the Emperor's essence blood, would be impossible. Moreover, Xiao Yin recalled his master, the Golden Dragon King, mentioning that the essence blood of a powerful being comparable to a peak 7-star Do-D had immense utility, and the jade-white skeleton had other uses. However, the Golden Dragon King had only briefly mentioned it without going into details. There's no need to panic, Xiao Yin said in a deep voice. Inside this skeleton lies a remnant soul imprint left by that powerful being during his lifetime. Even though it's now activated by the power of the essence blood, it's not the true 7-star Do-D. Defeating it isn't impossible, but we must join forces. If it manages to defeat us individually, there's a high chance we could be utterly wiped out. Hearing this, Su Shuiying nodded in agreement. If not for the suppression of their power within this relic, she wouldn't have feared the skeleton. But, given the current situation, where is your fire spirit? Summon it. I have a way to deal with this skeleton, but I need 3 minutes, Su Shuiying said, stepping onto a blue lotus as blue sacred flame enveloped her. She was evidently preparing something. It's just fallen asleep? Xiao Yin frowned. Damn it, that's a problem. Give me 5 minutes. Su Shuiying's eyes narrowed, and she bit her lips as the blue flame surged again. Su Shuiying glanced over and indeed saw the blood-red color on the surface of the Emperor's skeleton slowly dimming. The essence blood within it continued to emit a formidable force, rapidly flowing into various parts of its body. Xiao Yin noticed the same thing. Attack now. We can't wait any longer. If the blood continues to spread, the skeleton's strength will only increase. Xiao Yin shouted. As soon as his voice fell, Su Shuiying understood that there was no more time to delay. The blue lotus platform was summoned again, and her body was instantly covered with the blue sacred flame. With the sacred flame's appearance, the bloody stench lingering in the air diminished significantly. The power of the sacred flame was indeed worthy of its reputation. Xiao Yin couldn't afford to hesitate any longer. His figure blurred as he transformed into a shadow, darting toward the jade-colored skeleton in the chamber. Vast milky white Do-Chi erupted from his body like a volcanic eruption, surging in all directions. This powerful display of energy caused the precious herbs in the hall to wither slightly. Seeing Xiao Yan's swift and powerful attack, Su Shuiying was surprised by his agility. Creak! The red glow in the skeleton's eyes flickered as it watched the shadow bearing immense Do-Chi rapidly approach. The upper and lower jaws clicked together, and it stepped forward, extending a dark red skeletal hand directly toward Xiao Yin. Boom! 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 The skeleton's speed was terrifying. As soon as its hand rose, it tore through the space in front of it, its arm piercing into the shattered void and reappearing right in front of Xiao Yin. The terrifying speed of the jade-colored skeleton caused Xiao Yan's heart to sink. Clenching his fist tightly, he channeled all his Do-Chi into his right arm, and then launched a sudden punch. Boom! 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 His punch landed squarely on the skeleton's hand, but the seemingly fragile bones were now as hard as steel. Even with Xiao Yan's full-force punch, it only managed to make the skeleton take a single step back, while he was knocked back more than 10 steps, looking somewhat disheveled. But Xiao Yan was not one to show mercy. Regaining his footing, he quickly moved again, engaging the Emperor's skeleton in a fierce battle. Sparks flew as Xiao Yan's fists and kicks landed heavily on the Emperor's skeleton. Each powerful blow caused the red hue on the bones to fade slightly, and the red glow in the skeleton's eye sockets gradually dimmed. Xiao Yan realized that although the jade-colored skeleton was extremely powerful, even with his current strength, he couldn't withstand it indefinitely. However, the skeleton was a bit sluggish. Using his soul power, Xiao Yan could accurately anticipate and evade its attacks, allowing him to counterattack effectively. Seeing his attacks were having an effect, Xiao Yan's spirits lifted, and he intensified his assault. Meanwhile, the blue flames around Su Shuiying also flickered violently. A silver flash appeared under Xiao Yan's foot as he moved within half a meter of the Emperor's skeleton. Milky white flames wrapped around his hand, and he struck hard at a rib on the skeleton's back. The impact scattered the blood-red color from the rib, restoring it to its jade-white hue, looking like an ordinary bone. Just as Xiao Yan was about to retreat after landing a successful hit, his gaze froze on the rib that had turned jade-white again. He noticed a strange force slowly emerging from it. Boom! 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 The rib that had just been attacked by Xiao Yan suddenly radiated an even harder, stronger force than before. Moreover, there seemed to be something brewing at that rib location, ready to burst forth. Regenerative power! Damn it! Xiao Yan exclaimed, staring at the jade-white rib of the skeleton. Su Shuiying watched the intense battle in the chamber and couldn't help but feel astonished. The Emperor's remains were indeed formidable. Even under Xiao Yan's fierce assault, the skeleton was still being forced back step by step. This was only a remnant soul imprint. What kind of terror would a complete Emperor possess? Xiao Yan was beginning to feel the strain. Clearly, the skeleton's combat abilities were daunting, even making his heart tremble. Is it done yet? This Emperor's skeleton seems off, Xiao Yan asked.